Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. Today I just wanted to talk about the results of the double slit experiment. I know a lot of people on YouTube and on the internet have been posting videos about the double slit experiment. If you actually want to see the double slit experiment, there's a video, it's called What the Bleep. So you can watch that video, you can find it online and it'll explain the experiment for you. But the basic results of the experiment are that our attention is what makes life happen. So in essence, they proved that actual particles, such as atoms, when they're in material form, they act a lot like marbles and they act like matter. So the way that we expect matter to act is the way that they act when they are being viewed. When they're not being viewed, they act more like water, which is considered a wave. So waves expand and they have a whole bunch of possibility, and that's the way that particles and atoms actually exist when we're not observing them. Another experiment that I wanted to talk about is Emotos water experiments. So Dr. Emoto, with his water experiments, he basically taped words, phrases to water and froze the water to see what molecular structure they would have. He also played music to water. He took water from different parts of the world and different types of water. Some were from cities, some were from more fresh water sources. He froze them to see what their base level, I guess you could call it, was at. And he found out that intention does affect water. So this means certain words do carry different vibrations, certain intentions do affect water, and since we are made up of like 95% water, that means that our intentions do actually affect our body compositions. This also means that our observation of the world around us also is what creates the world around us. So I think this is a huge scientific finding and a huge explanation for the spiritual things that we find around the world and the weird and bizarre things that we find around the world that we do not have any answers for. Spiritual teachers and spiritual gurus have been talking about these laws of spirit and the laws of the world around us for many generations, and now science is starting to prove that they were correct about their observations of the world around us. A lot of people are saying that the shamans and gurus a lot of times use psychedelics along with meditation to be able to come to these insights about the world around us, and this is why science is now proving shamans and spiritual teachers correct, a lot of people are saying. So a lot of people are now talking about how we live in a matrix. They're talking about us living in a matrix because of the fact that the matrix doesn't exist unless you are actually viewing the matrix. All it is before that is just computer code, but once you view the computer code turns into stuff that looks like matter, that looks like physical things that you can touch in reality. But up until there's an observer there, all it is just a bunch of ones and zeros, which is a bunch of possibility. All of these concepts are very obscure. I know there's a lot of people out there that don't accept these ideas, but it's just because they haven't been learning or exposed to these materials. Once you start learning about these new experiments that are happening, it's hard to not come to a conclusion that our reality is way more different than what we accept. I mean, a lot of people talk about ghosts and demons and them not being real, but I mean, if we're living in a matrix, there's going to be a lot of shadows and a lot of obscure things that you're not going to be able to necessarily scientifically prove, but that are still going to be seen. Another thing I wanted to talk about was the science of our universe. So I know there's a lot of flat earthers out there that basically say that our universe beyond our sky doesn't exist, that because we live under a dome. In reality, if science is correct about space and the existence of space, and a flat earth doesn't exist, which I don't think we live on a flat earth, because that doesn't follow the rules of as so above, so below, and it's become very apparent to me that that rule exists in more than just one aspect of our existence, and that it carries through multitudes of our existence. So with that being said, that tells me that the universe as science is describing is correct, and the science that they are describing is kind of mind-boggling on the size of it. Because if you understand anything about our galaxy, contains millions of stars, and each one of those stars potentially carries planets along with it, which means there's billions of planets in our galaxy. So out of billions of planets in our galaxy, it is very difficult to believe that none of them are in the Goldilocks zone of that particular star. Now, if you don't know what the Goldilocks zone is, that's the zone that Earth is currently residing in from our sun. So based on the size of the sun that is in the center of the solar system, that determines, like, the heat coming from the sun, the size of it, that will determine its ideal Goldilocks zone, which is where they think a planet needs to be to sustain life in that solar system. So the chances of planets not being in the Goldilocks zone in other solar systems in our galaxy is pretty slim. I'd say the chances are higher that there's billions of planets in the Goldilocks zone, just like Earth. There could easily be millions to billions of planets within the Goldilocks zone of all those stars. That tells me that life is very possible in our galaxy alone. The fact that science is finding lots of bacterium on our planet where they weren't expecting to find any life at all. Some of it's in the bottom of the ocean. Some life they're finding is coming to Earth in the form of asteroids and meteorites. Some of it, that is just fossil evidence, but because of the fact that it's coming from outside of our planet, that means there's got to be life somewhere else. So I don't think it's a far-fetched to believe that our Earth was seeded potentially by asteroids or meteorites in the past. That could be very likely where the building blocks came from. I think that's a very plausible explanation of evolution on our planet and how life maybe started. But at the same time, we have only recently created power plants that are nuclear power plants. These nuclear power plants never existed before we created them. Yet scientists are finding bacterium that live in these supremely high radiation power plants that we never knew of before. So we haven't found them in the environment. We didn't know that they existed until we built a power plant, and after years of running these power plants, they finally ended up finding these new forms of life. So I don't know if these forms of life were dormant and they just managed to show up, or if they evolved into being able to live in that environment. But our planet is still not explained. There's still a lot of unexplained things going on, a lot of unexplained creatures, a lot of things that haven't been found, that science hasn't studied. And this is why we continue to find new discoveries every year. So the fact that this life form hasn't been found in nature, was only found in something that was man-made, we don't know where it came from, but it proves that life can live in the most extreme conditions that we thought life could never live, because any other form of life on this planet would die in that radioactive environment. But yet this organism is living and flourishing in that environment, and that environment, as far as we know, didn't exist until we made those power plants. So with that being said, that means that our understanding of life in our galaxy is very limited. That means if bacterium and organisms can live in such an extreme environment that we never expected life to exist in, that means life will also exist on multiple planets in our galaxy, maybe even in our solar system. The fact that we haven't been to Mars yet, that we haven't really explored Venus, which are the two closest planets to us, but that's not to say that Mars doesn't currently have life on it, and that doesn't mean that Venus currently doesn't have life on it. They could very likely, because even though they're extreme conditions right now, as Earth is showing us, life can evolve and can live in more extreme environments than what we give it credit for. So with that being said, that means there could be primitive life on even more planets than what we would have originally anticipated in our galaxy. And not only there be billions of planets that have microbial life on them in our galaxy, but our galaxy is of millions of galaxies. Scientists took a picture, just a pinpoint in the night sky that looked completely dark to us here on Earth, and they filmed it for like 10 days, and they just kept their eye on it, and then they made the pictures and put the pictures together to basically take all the exposures of what they got and see what they could see. And they ended up seeing thousands in that little tiny area of galaxies way beyond our own galaxy. So with that being said, there's got to be millions, if not billions, of galaxies out there. And if there can be billions of planets in our galaxy alone that has life on it, now we're not talking advanced life per se, we're talking about microbial life, then that means there is an unlimited amount of planets in this entire universe that would have microbial life on it. Now, as for how many of those planets have developed from microbial life into more complex life, like animals, is hard to say. The fact that our galaxy is millions of years old and human beings have only, our recorded history is 6,000 years on this planet. That is the amount of time where we know for a fact that human beings have been on this planet. Science is now telling us that humans might have been on this planet upwards of 200,000 years. So from what I've been seeing in science, it's pretty well proven that 30,000 years, mankind, as we know it, has been on this planet. That is far beyond our recorded history, and the only reason we know this is because we're finding civilizations that are dating way before our recorded history. So if our recorded history is only 6,000 years and mankind has been on this planet for over 30,000 years, that's a long time of non-recorded history where man has been on this planet. So science is still stuck to the idea that they were always primitive human beings, and that we have been evolving, and that this is the pinnacle of human civilization. The fact that we're finding old archaeological sites that we can't explain how they were built tells me that they were probably more advanced, or at least there was some more advanced people on this planet than what we give credit for. With that being said, those 30,000 years on this planet are minimal in comparison to the millions of years that our planet has existed. And our galaxy is more than millions of years old. So the fact that there could be billions of planets that hold life in our galaxy, if complex life evolved on this planet, there's no reason to believe that complex life wouldn't have evolved on other planets, especially when they had millions of years, just like the planet Earth, to do so. And some of those galaxies that are out there, if the universe is 14 billion years old, other solar systems and other galaxies could have had billions of years to evolve more complex life, rather than Earth's millions of years to evolve complex life. So I think it is way more likely that complex life forms formed on other planets before it formed on Earth. Now, I'm not saying that other people have been visiting us from other planets or from other galaxies or from other solar systems, whether they're in our galaxy or galaxies beyond. I'm just saying, I know for a fact there's life in other galaxies. I know that there's other life on other planets in our galaxy. The fact that they have had more time to evolve than what planet Earth has had tells me that the fact that there could be complex life somewhere else is highly likely. And the fact that we evolved on this planet means it very easily could have happened on any other planet, especially considering other planets are far older than what our planet is. So with that being said, there is no doubt in my mind that we are eventually going to find life on other planets if we manage to get to other planets. So far, that is yet to be seen. I just want to put out the point that there is more information out there than what most people know is out there, that the possibilities of what we can do on this planet and what we're going to be able to do in the future is far more diverse than what we give ourselves credit for. So I look forward to doing more videos in the future for you. I hope you all have a good day, and thank you for watching.